Jung had his autobiography censored?
This is what we learn now from the new biography. Yeah, that's the best.
Is it?
I don't know, ask Robert would know, but I've read not all of them, but many of them. The early ones were basically Jung was this god. Mm-hmm. And it had a lot of interesting anecdotes if you're into the things, but it wasn't a balanced picture of a human being. Well, Lawrence Vanderpost wrote something.
Mm-hmm. On Jung?
Yeah, Jung in the Story of Our Time. Well, not only that, I was reading the newspaper and someone had a biography of Vanderpost, and they said he made up 90% of all these things where he talked about his Zulus and all this stuff, that it was all fabricated.
Really?
He was a great storyteller, but I guess... And the theme of the book was not that that was a bad thing necessarily, because they were still great stories, whether he made it up or not, but... Im von Franz had a... Jung and the Myth of Our Time, I think that was the title of hers, and that was rather...
They all make sense out of him.
And Barbara Hanna.
Weir? Who's that Weir guy?
Yeah, Weir was... That was one of the few I could never get through, because there was nothing new in it. The first negative one I read was by Paul Stern. And its title was Jung, the Haunted Prophet.
I haven't read that.
And this is probably 20 years ago. And he obviously had an inside source that was disgruntled with Jung, but from a scholarly standpoint, because I'm not trained in psychology, so I come at this as a scholar. And so from a scholarly standpoint, it was very weak because there was no footnotes or references, but it's clear he had an inside source, and he had an axe to grind. I mean, it was an awful book.
Yeah.
But it did have, these things that have now surfaced when people start going to archives and people start talking. And then there were these Richard Noll books.
I don't know
One, he wrote two. The Aryan King or something.
I had a friend in Zurich who dreamed a one-liner dream. Carl Jung will do just as much damage as he does good in the world, period. So off she goes to Jung to tell him. He heard this, burst into laughter, and he said, of course. What do you expect?
Well, Richard Noll's thesis, which Deidre, she refers to him totally, and Deidre Blair she's not connected with any of these people. She's just a very competent biographer. Even she said there was nothing Noll basically claimed Honegger. Richard Honegger was the one that came up with the notion of the archetype first, and that Jung stole this from him, and then in Jung's early editions he had footnotes to Honegger, and then he removed them, and he was claiming, and so this guy Noll claimed some kind of insidious...
Who's Honegger?
He discovered alchemy, or rediscovered it.
He was someone that killed himself before they had training analysis. And there's an extensive discussion of him in the Freud-Jung letters, in which Freud's counseling, and here Freud seems very human. He's saying, Carl, not everyone has your industry, your ambition, and we wear people out. But, Jung was telling this guy to break off with a woman. He was, basically saying this woman is no good for you.
He was engaged to.
And he clearly he was, I guess you'd have to say, he was more than neurotic. He was psychotic.
Honegger was.
Honegger, yeah. Somebody, well, I think Deidre has it, and goes through all his, he would give these papers at these congresses, and they'd start out really lucid, and then there'd just be these all from a certain perspective, very strange associations and things like this.